Well, here we are. I see Tom. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We're back. This is summer hours. Summer hours is a good thing. We get to go to the beach. You get to see me tan. You get to see Tom Pell as a ghost. Uh, how are you doing today, Tom?
All right. Well, pale as a ghost, I don't think is exactly right. And honestly, between the two of us, it may be cameras, but I look more tan than you do right now.
Everybody knows you got 6 filters on your camera, and
I have zero filters on my camera.
uh,
Zero.
sure, whatever you say, whatever you say.
You
Hey,
can, I mean, that's fine. You can't even use. I don't even know how I would use a filter. Like
I don't even know what. Yeah, I don't even
there is no
know.
way to. It's not like we're not on Instagram right now. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know because I do get on calls with sometimes Tom with people, and all of a sudden, like they'll have like these crazy eyelashes, and they look completely different.
Yeah, well, that's what they're using, like stuff that's built into like the app that they're on. Like, so Zoom has like silly things where you can like add like eyelashes or like mustaches or like whatever to your face. Kind of like like some of like the TikTok filters and stuff like that, where it'll like add something onto you. Like Zoom can do some of that stuff too, but like we're not on Zoom. I'm not using Zoom. Like there are no filters. This is my camera. Looks like I lost the light. I wonder if that bulb burned out finally. The light that's usually right here over my shoulder just went out. It was on when we first got on, but yeah, I wonder if that bulb burned out or the voltage is a little too low on the dimmer. I'll have to check it.
Now, see, I need somebody to come in. I need a professional uh, producer to come into my studio here and say, you need diffusers and lights and everything. All right, let's get this started. Not the smartest guys in the room. How you doing today? Everybody out there, thank you for being here. We call this summer hours, so you're going to see us every couple of weeks. So you're going to have to get on the YouTubes and find the streams everywhere. Tom, where all do we stream?
Uh, so today we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and yeah. Did you pair any channels?
Today it wouldn't let me pair. I don't know what was going on. Like usually I just push a button and it says pair channels. Today it brought me in a different way.
Oh, you gotta. I don't know. It says something about how you gotta pair before you enter the studio or something.
Yeah,
So I don't
let me,
know. Yeah, I don't know. So Restream did, I think, just change. We use Restream, by the way.
okay, go.
For anybody listening, we use Restream as sort of our medium to rebroadcast things and to get like the Clubhouse image on screen so we can see who's in the Clubhouse room and talk to them and include them. So that's the platform that we use, the web app that we use, and they did just revamp their platform a little bit. And I noticed, I think they changed it so like if you don't have a paid account, you can only pair 2 channels now. So yeah, so I don't know, but it's kind of follows suit with a lot of the other sort of web apps where they give you the world and then they slowly scale it back and make you pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Claw back the things that you were used to having. So, that's always a fun game.
What is it? You will fight for some harder for something you had and they took away than something you've never had. Man, making me mad. Okay, one of the things, Tom, before Tom Stums, before show and tell, we were going to talk today about empathy. Empathy. So empathy, you said not a soft skill. Some people use it as a business strategy. Some people just use empathy. That's where, so when we brought up the subject, like I'm concerned on where you want to go here because I am not one that treats empathy lightly or thinks that it is just something to be like, hey, all my sales reps need to have empathy. And so what are you thinking? Let's go.
Yeah, I don't think you. So what I mean is, I think, and exactly what I wrote to you when I emailed you about this topic yesterday was empathy isn't a soft skill; it's a winning strategy, right? And what I mean by that is, I think it's really important that people bring empathy into the way they interact with people in business, right? Often, and I think this goes to this kind of like this weird concept that we have, and I'm sure we could dig into the etymology of it and like figure out where it comes from, and sort of like pick apart all the root causes for it. But at the end of the day, like the fact is that we live in a world where we have been taught to believe that we have to sort of almost be bipolar, right? That we have to have a work version or a business version of ourselves, right? And a home or personal life version of ourselves. And that those two are disparate and separate, right? And I don't think that's true at all. We've talked about this a number of times in here before. Like, and I always say, like, look, man, I don't have the time or the energy or the patience to be anything other than who I am. I am me all the time. Take it or leave it, like it or not. This is who I am. This is what you get, right? When you deal with me. And some people are going to say, hey, you know what? Not a fan of that, and walk away, which is fine. That is what it is, right? Like, you have to accept that. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So what I mean by empathy isn't a soft skill is like empathy is not something that should only be a part of your personal life, right? It is not something that is only a sort of soft skill that you exhibit or you exercise with the people you care about in your personal life, with your family, with your friends, right? With those kind of people. I think empathy is a strategy, a winning strategy that you should bring into your business life, that those two should be much closer and more intertwined. And the difference between them shouldn't be that there are two different versions of you. They should be that you behave slightly differently depending on the context, right? So like if you're sitting at home, it's say you're sitting at your house, right? We'll pick an example, Dom, that hits home for you, right? This coming fall, you're in your basement, your newly finished basement, hanging out with a bunch of your friends, watching one of the Steelers away games, right? Watching a Steelers away game, throwing back a couple of beers, eating some wings, watching the game with your friends. You are going to behave in a particular way based on that context, right? You're going to be a little bit loose with your language. You might be a little bit more colorful with your language than you would be otherwise. You guys might be giving each other a hard time, poking fun at your friends, right? Like as friends are often want to do. That's how you behave in that context. Now, you might the next day be in a business meeting. And in that business meeting, you're not going to be throwing F-bombs, right? You're not going to be making fun of the person you're meeting with and poking fun at them and giving them a hard time, breaking their chops, right? Because that's not the right behavior for that context, right? So we behave differently depending on the context that we're in, and that's totally okay. But in both places, you should be you, right? You should be authentically who you are, and you should be empathetic and practice empathy with everyone that you're dealing with, whether it's in a personal context or in a business context. And that's what I mean by empathy is not a soft skill. It's a winning strategy. It is a good way to win over the hearts and minds of the people that you interact with, because if you can demonstrate to the people that you interact with that you care about them, that you genuinely have concern for their happiness and their well-being, then they will be likely to respond in kind, whether that's a business context or a personal one. And so it's always a good idea. It's always a winning strategy. It's always a good way to deal with the world and to interact with people that you come in contact with. And so that's what I mean by it. So I think hopefully I allayed your fears about where I was going to go with this. I think we're probably very much on the same page. But go ahead, tell me what you think.
Tom, I agree 100%. And I'm so passionate and deeply entrenched in empathy that when somebody says that we're going to use it at even a winning strategy, okay, winning. But I fear that people say they're going to use it as a winning strategy. I think as a society, as a world, as a human being, we should all practice and become more empathetic to this person's needs, that person's needs, older, younger, everybody. So I worry when I hear it linked with strategy, because then as soon as then there's analytics to it, I start to think that's not real. Now, in what you're saying, it's 100% real. This is how you live. But I'm concerned, like even put it, like I couldn't even put it up as the tag, empathy is the winning strategy, because people might misconstrue that and be like, oh, these guys think empathy is just a strategy. It's for your life, not just your business. So I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to touch back?
I just want to add one more thing onto that. It's something that popped into my head just as you were speaking, and that is that when you think about when I say empathy is a winning strategy, right? I mean a winning strategy for life, right? I don't mean just in business. I mean a winning strategy for life, and I think really what I'm trying to encourage people to do here, and what I would encourage, like what I try to do, is I try to not edit empathy out of my interactions in business, right? And I think if you've ever heard the phrase, we've all heard the phrase. I shouldn't even say if you've ever heard the phrase. Everybody listening to this has heard the phrase. It's nothing personal. It's just business, right? That phrase, that term is the epitome, is the representation of us editing empathy out of the way we interact with people in business. And that's what I want to sort of rail against and maybe encourage people to stop doing. It is personal, right? If you're dealing with another person and their livelihood or their employment status or their ability to put a roof over their head or their family's heads, like that's personal. So like, don't try to fool yourself. Don't try to edit empathy out of the way you interact with people. At the end of the day, it isn't just business. It's always personal, because you're always dealing with another person, right? So it may not be targeted at them. It may not be a decision that you made because of who they are, but it's personal, right? And so don't use that as an excuse to edit empathy out of the way you interact with people in business.
Yeah, Tom, agree. You mentioned books. I'm reading Good to Great right now, and it looks at the 500 best companies based on the stock market. They have to beat the stock performance and stuff, and they're talking about the leaders that ran the businesses, and empathy is right, and caring about their staff and their teammates was right up to the top. That what made these companies, these leaders, the best of the best. You could bring in celebrity leaders, and big time, like the guys that had the name. That didn't make a company go from good to great. A lot of times it was the empathetic leader, the leader that didn't take all the credit, the leader that called his team up and sat down and had meetings with all of them. Those were the ones that made the difference. So let's get to some people here. Tom, not the smartest guys in the room. Thanks all for being here. I see Julie, Jim, Ajay, Debbie, Dave in the house here on Clubhouse today. We're on summer hours. Don't hold it against us. And we'll be on summer hours. So you'll see us in a couple weeks again. So you got to listen to the live streams. Right, Tom?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. This show, other shows all kind of live on our platforms, on our YouTube channels, on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn platforms. So if you want to, if you miss on a Wednesday morning, if you find yourself missing Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, have no fear. There are plenty of backlogs of episodes on those platforms. So if you go to Motivation Champs on YouTube or Talex Media on YouTube, or either of our LinkedIns, Dom's LinkedIn or my LinkedIn, or Facebook, you can find lots of episodes of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room right there waiting for you to give a listen and be part of the conversation. So there's always a chance to listen to or watch Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, even if we're not live on a Wednesday morning, because as Dom said, it's the summer and vacations happen. What are you going to do?
That's right. Okay, Sonia, my friend Sonia, author of Dropped in a Maze, successful podcaster, speaking on stages. Sonia, is empathy something that comes into your business, something that you see when you're doing business with people, or is it you don't care? You'd rather order from Amazon? What do you got?
Well, I mean, in my line of work, empathy is one of the major components, because I'm a therapist. And part of being a therapist and what qualifies somebody and separates somebody from who is a successful therapist versus somebody who will not be successful in the field is that ability to empathize with the person. And I feel like anybody who has empathy for another person, I think showing empathy is so important, even whether in therapy or not. I feel like it's something that can be used across different field, variety of different professions and fields. Because after all, right, what is a lot of work entailing at the end of the day? Building relationships, right? One of the biggest foundations of having a relationship with somebody else is also empathy, compassion, kindness, right? Those are the major key components for that. And in order to be effective in communicating to another person and in order to get something out of it, is you have to have empathy.
Thank you, Sonia. I have a friend who's a therapist, and I consider him a mentor. And every time I ever speak to the gentleman, he just receives it and makes me feel special, makes me feel heard, and I believe he's listening to me. I believe like I'm better off because of it, and that I think he possesses this empathy. But when I talked to one of my friends about it, who also considers this gentleman a mentor, he said he said he always makes you feel heard, and wow, what a special gift. So keep doing what you're doing, Sonia. All right, Tom, before we go to Tom's thumbs, okay, we got Jason, we got Tom has a comment. What do you got, man?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say to Sonia, like something that Sonia said resonated, and that was, the idea of using empathy or empathy being a building block for relationships, right? And I think everybody, for anybody that wants to push back on the idea of empathy, carrying empathy into your business dealings, I would turn right around and say, and hopefully Jim would back me up on this down there. He could throw something in the chat if he agrees, even if he doesn't want to chime in. But in sales, right? And Dom, you experienced this. You had a career in sales, right? In sales, it's all about the relationships, right? It's all about building relationships. Like the best sales performers are also the people who are really, really good at building relationships with their customers. And then the other side of things is like for anybody who's been in business or been involved in business, whether it's business development or sales or as a founder or an entrepreneur, one of the things that is commonplace through all of those sorts of roles in business is networking, right? And what's networking about? It's about building relationships, right? It's about building relationships to drive business. And if empathy is a building block for relationships, then it is very clear to me and should be clear to everybody else that empathy, practicing empathy in business is a winning strategy, right? Because it helps you build better relationships, which leads to better business performance over time. So I just wanted to reinforce that point. Sonia was talking about relationships, and it just popped into my head. But yeah, so Jason, we'll come around to you next. So how about you, Jason? How do you or how have you practiced empathy in your business?
Well, in my business, I would have to say the way that I put myself in their shoes, right? Like it's very difficult because people like to think that someone's going to do you right, and they have rules, standards, regulations, all these things. But there's always exceptions to the rules, right? And people want to hold place, and sometimes you can't, but empathetically, if I were to put myself in a place where I have to say, let's say I have to say no to Tom. No, Tom, you can't go forward with that. Do I give an apology? Do I give an extenuating feeling statement? Maybe. Or at this time, it's just not going to go forward. And it doesn't mean, but then there's times where, let's say if I had a long-standing emotional friend relationship outside of business and I have to disappoint my friend, is that the one thing that's stopping your own from going forward? Or you're just trying to not be the hated one. And I think that when we use empathy and sympathy, it's for the construction of going forward in the flow of good life, and sometimes even the more difficult parts of life. Because I've had no said to me by friends, and it's been perfectly fine, and I'm glad they did. But then also when they say yes, they put themselves in my shoes. Yeah, sure, I've been a struggling whatever podcaster or whatever, but giving this space of empathy, like, hey, I understand you're working it out. I didn't have it worked out. We understand difficulties, but it's like what can be constructive in the flow of life. That's the way I use empathy, whether it's personal or professional. It's like, hey, I could see myself in your shoes. This is the way I would have handled it, but sometimes you don't need to explain that. So I'll just line.
Cool. I appreciate that, Jason. And I think, I would add to that, I think one of the ways that, or one of the sort of differentiators between how you deal with someone when you have to sort of give them a no, right, in business, which we all have to deal with. There are times when you have to say no to somebody, right? Whether it's a client or an employee or a partner or whatever. There are times when you have to say, no, we can't do that, or no, I won't do that. And I think, in those instances, the way you practice empathy is by helping that person understand. It's not necessarily about coddling them, right? But it's about helping them, or working to help them understand why the no had to be a no, right? I think that is an empathetic practice. So it's not about kowtowing, right? And I don't think this is what you were saying, Jason, but I just think a lot of people might go down this road with it. That
I'd be very careful about explaining and trying to help them. Yeah, I'd be very cautious on that one, because I just don't want to add extenuating strings to stopping the movement or whatever it is. But it's like, hey, when I say no with my friends, they know it's like, okay, there's no explaining. I'm not going to do it. And that's the hard part, is unless it's really necessary, let's not waste your time and my time. But at the same time, I've been there, and when I can't do it, I can't do it, or when I can. But I think that you don't explain too much more than necessary. I mean, that maybe that's just my experience in my life. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think there's a difference between helping somebody understand why, rather than like explaining yourself to them, right? So like, I'm not saying explain yourself like you have to justify it to them. What I'm saying is help them understand why the decision is what the decision is, not justify the decision to them. Help them understand why the decision is what the decision is, right? I think there's value in that. And I think that is a way that you can practice empathy in, sort of difficult situations in business, right? And even in life, right? As a parent, like there are times when you have to tell your kid they can't do something that they want to do, right? Or they're not able to do something that they want to do, or you don't want them to do something that they want to do. Kids don't like that. I know I didn't like it when I was a kid, right? Kids don't like being told that they can't do something they want to do. And sometimes I think it's a good practice to sit down with your kid, help them understand why, right? Maybe they don't like the answer. Maybe they're still upset about it, but at least they understand that you put thought into it, that it wasn't an arbitrary decision, right? That you were making a decision from a good place for their best interests. And I think the same can be true in a business situation as well. So like, that's kind of what I was getting at. But anyway, I think Dom will do, we'll go to Tom's thumbs. I know you're itching. You got something up your sleeve there, and then we'll come back to Dr. Tachi. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. One, we appreciate everybody being here. So we're heading into the Tom's Thumbs. Sometimes I ask you about dying Easter eggs. Sometimes we talk about the weather, all kinds of good stuff. Sometimes we talk about Elon Musk. Who knows, Elon versus Trump. Today, Tom, and it's how I preface the question too, to get you to see, are you pro? You have to give it a thumbs up, or you have to give it a thumbs down. So today, my question is, what do you think about there being no Epstein list?
All right. So I had a sneaking suspicion that this was going to be the topic because it is so huge in the sort of zeitgeist right now, right? It is something that everyone on across the entire political spectrum is talking about. So I first of all, I would say I do think that there is a list or a file of some sort, whatever you want to refer to it as. I think there's a list or a file of some sort because, first of all, they've been talking about it. You know, it's been talked about, particularly, people like Dan Bongino and others for years have been talking about exposing this Epstein list and exposing the Epstein files and releasing the Epstein files. Donald Trump was even asked before he won the election if he became president again, would he release the Epstein files? He said yes, and then he tried to kind of walk it back a little bit. Well, yes, but maybe less that than other stuff, more JFK, but less maybe Epstein. But anyway, he said he would release them. So they've been talking about these files or this list for years. Pam Bondi in February even said, the Attorney General in February said, it's on my desk, right? And I'm going to release everything I can release. They even did a publicity stunt where they gave fake binders to a bunch of social media influencers that said Epstein Files Phase 1 or something on them, that had nothing in them, right? That didn't contain any information. So first of all, are there some sort of files? I don't know if there's a specific list. There probably is. I don't know exactly what would be in those files, but there's a file. Like there's no doubt in my mind that there's a file. So we'll just kind of start with that premise, right? That like this file exists, or these files exist. There is some documentation around sort of Epstein, his behavior, his associates, other people that might have participated in the horrible things that he did, particularly with young women, people who visited his island, et cetera, et cetera. So like, does that file exist? I have no doubt that there are some files pertaining to those things. So that's number one. What do I feel? How do I feel about them not being released? Right? I think maybe that's the question, getting at the meat of the matter, at the heart of the matter. What do I think about them not being released and them being slow walked, and Republicans in Congress voting within just the last couple of days to not demand their release? I get that a huge thumbs down. I think if you want to actually be the most transparent administration in history, then release the files. Like it seems like there's a lot of smoke. If there's no fire, then release the files. Like what are we waiting for? What are we worried about? And for once, like, oddly enough, I find myself siding with people like Candace Owens and Dan Bongino, right? Which is not politically something that is common for me, but like I'm on their team on this. Like, release the files, publish everything you can publish, so long as it does not jeopardize the safety or the privacy of the victims, right? I think it's important that the victims of these alleged crimes are protected. So I will put that proviso in there. The victims should be absolutely protected 100%. But otherwise, I think release the information and move on it. If there's substance there, right? If there is fire where there appears to be smoke, then move on it. The Justice Department should move on it. Like, so the whole thing gets a huge thumbs down. It feels like, and I don't know if it is, but it feels like a giant cover-up. And I think the backlash is warranted in this case, and I'm here for it. So not releasing the files gets a thumbs down. The backlash and bearing the brunt of the repercussions of participating in this what is perceived to be a cover up, I think it's a huge thumbs up. So I give a thumbs up to the backlash, and I give a thumbs down to not releasing the files. How about that?
That was quite a cogent argument, Tom. Well done all around. I see in the comments there is a comment that says Tom Thumbs has no empathy. I want already hate for Tom Thumbs. No positivity towards the files.
Well, I will say this. Generally speaking, Tom's thumbs sort of revolve around either something inanimate, which, inanimate things like are not deserving of empathy. Like my water bottle here doesn't deserve my empathy. Like it's a water bottle. It doesn't need empathy, right? So like inanimate things are not deserving of empathy. So that's one, right? So I would say that. And then the other thing I would say in response to that, Jim, is like, hey, like you don't really have to practice empathy when you're punching up. Right. And like, that's generally what we're doing is we're not punching down, we're punching up. Right. And so I don't think, I don't think like in this context that any of the sort of, knowing participants in this debacle are deserving of empathy for their participation in this debacle. So that would be my pushback against Jim saying that Tom's thumbs have zero empathy, that, you don't have to practice empathy necessarily when you're punching up or given the context. And I don't practice empathy for inanimate things because that's just weird.
All right. Well thought out. Tom's on his game today. You're not wishy-washy. You're clear. You're clear, concise. All right. Good job. Not the smartest guys in the room. That was Tom's thumbs. All right. We're going to Dr. Tachi. Then we'll come back around. Anybody else want to jump up, talk on the subject? We started out, Dr. Tachi, talking about empathy today. It's more than just a strategy, but it is a good strategy if you use it. But we don't want people just to use it as a strategy. So, Dr. Tachi, if you want to talk about Tom teeter-tottering on the Epstein list, or if you want to talk about empathy, go on. What do you have for us?
Good morning, everyone. So I have a question with empathy. Were you talking about empathy with regard to using it in business, or what was the context?
Well, so we are talking about using in business, but what we came across and all agree on here is we don't want people just using it as a strategy and then not in their own life, or just saying, hey, let's be empathetic 10 times today. So on each call, make sure you're empathetic. Go on, Tom.
Well, I would just add this, Dom, and maybe this helps give a little bit of context for you, Dr. Tachi. Like, yes, we're talking about it in a business context. And originally when I emailed Dom about the topic for today, I said empathy is not just a soft skill, it's a winning strategy. And really what I mean by that, and I think the simplest way to sum it up, is that practicing empathy in business, in a business context, is a winning strategy. So not pretending to be empathetic, not using empathy, but practicing empathy, the practice of being empathetic in a business context, is a winning strategy for business. That's sort of the topic.
Now, I will tell you, see, I have trouble even saying it like that because I don't want to be the one on tape saying empathy's a winning strategy, because it can be so misconstrued. So that's why I'm dancing around it.
Well, right. But I think saying, I totally get you. But I think the key word and the reason why I emphasized it is practicing empathy. Because if you are practicing empathy, then you are actively engaged in being empathetic. So it's not a ploy, right? It's not fake. If you are practicing empathy, you are being empathetic. So it's not it's not fake. It's not illusory. It's not kind of the things that you're worried about it being misconstrued as. If you practice empathy, you are being empathetic, right? And my argument is that practicing empathy is a good business strategy, right? I'm just saying be empathetic in the way you conduct business is essentially what I'm saying when I say practicing empathy in a business context, right? So Dr. Tachi, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you so much for the context. I looking at, and Dominic actually just sort of referred to this. that it's very difficult to show empathy or be empathetic in business if you're not empathetic in everyday life. It then does come off as just for business sake and fake. And most people are not that good of actors that they can actually feign empathy. It is very important in a business sense because it shows that you have your clients, your customers, whoever it is, top of mind and in the front of mind. Because you only exist as a business because you have people that buy into and believe in that business, that patronize you. That's the sole reason you exist. It's the same thing with having for me having a show. The reason Mediascope exists is not because I want to sit there and talk to myself, but because people come and watch on a weekly basis, right? So being empathetic to them just is natural because you don't exist without them. So of course you're going to take the audience into account, or in other types of business, your clients or customers into account. But this is not something that you can fake. If you are, there are certain people, particularly people in charge now, that they've never been empathetic. And I think we all know who we're talking about, that this has been their MO from day one. So now to expect a level of empathy and caring when it comes to the people of this nation, are you kidding? This has never been what the thing is. So, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't expect it, but to expect it doesn't make any sense because this has never been this person's way, or person's way of doing things. So bringing it back home to business, I think it is very important, but I don't think we can expect a true level of empathy from businesses or companies or entities that are run by people who do not show empathy in daily life. So that's my story, and for now, I'm sticking to it.
Well done, Dr. Tachi. So the question is, anybody on the panel, and Dr. Tachi, I'll lead with you, if you find a company that's not like a company. So let's say I go to Walmart. I mean, I go to Walmart all the time. I wander through the stores. I get produce, and then I go over and get like a piece of paper, and then I go back and get a TV, or like I get everything I need there. It's weird. I'm just saying they have everything there. So I don't know if they're empathetic or not. Should I be researching to find out if they're empathetic? I look at those rollback prices, and sometimes they're higher, and it says it's rollback. They are not. Are they empathetic? Are they not? Do I ditch them? What do I do? Dr. Tachi, go on.
I can tell you they are not. Now, I've had a fundamental issue with Walmart for a long time. I never shop. I think I've been in there one time, and just from the
hold on, you lie. You've been to Walmart one time. Get out of here.
Yes, because
how about a super Walmart? How about a Sam's Club?
No, because I never lived in areas where Walmart was a thing. It was only after I moved to Florida that there were some Walmarts around, but still, they didn't appeal to me. I'm sorry, I'm bougie. That did not appeal to me. So I went in one time. I think I need to get something, and I was like, never again. So that's never been my thing. But ever since when I first got to my former university, I worked closely with the performing arts department. I had like a kind of like an honorary appointment, and so I was involved in the talkback after the play that they put on that was based off of Nickel and Dime, which was a book by Barbara Ehrenreich. And the premise of that book was she was a professor that was trying to really look at how the working poor get along in society and how they're able to make it work. So she did an experiment where she hid the fact, of course, that she was a professor. She had to take the jobs, minimum wage jobs, and live only off of that. And only if she got into a situation that she couldn't survive, that she would dip into her professor's salary. And so one of the places she worked, now she didn't name it, but we all knew it was Walmart. And she talked about some of the things that went on there, the way they were treated, etc. Another place she worked was for Mary Maids, right? So she did all these things. Now, one person's experience doesn't necessarily speak to an entire culture, but we hear this over and over again. And so ever since then, I've been like, no, I'm not going to support the impoverishing of people. Now, do I then look down on people who shop there? No. Probably if you have other choices, I might look at you side eye, but I'm not looking down at you because there are some people who have nothing else in their area but a Walmart and they have to shop there. There are some people whose the prices at Walmart are really what they can afford and they have to shop there. So I'm showing a level of empathy there by simply because I choose not to do that and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to look down on people who have to do that or, whatever the case may be. So what do? I think if you are giving money to any entity, to any company, you have to realize that the money you spend goes to fund the things that they value and the things that they believe in. And if it doesn't align with what you value, then you need to ask yourself, should I be spending money there? And I think the problem is we don't ask ourselves this enough, which is why debaucherous business practices are allowed to exist, because we often turn a blind eye. And so nobody is perfect when it comes to that. And there are some companies that corner the market, like with internet service. They may have deplorable practices, but what else can you do if they're the only provider, right? So it's a delicate dance. There's no perfect answer, but where you can make change, I think we should.
I think that's right, Dr. Tachi. I mean, I agree with you. I have been to Walmart more than once, but I do my best to not shop there. We have a Sam's Club membership. My family and I have a Sam's Club membership. We're going to let it lapse in favor of a Costco membership, even though Costco is about 20 minutes further away from our house. I think it's worth it to go the extra 20 minutes to support a company that actually pays their employees a living wage and treats them well and cares about them and will never raise the price of their hot dog from their food court. Hopefully don't. One of my favorite quotes from a business leader is when someone suggested that they raise the price of the hot dog at the food court, the then CEO and founder of Costco turned around and said, "If you raise the price of the hot dog, I will effing kill you." Because that's what the customers expect and that's what they demand and that's what we want to give them. And same thing with the chicken, the rotisserie chicken, the $5 rotisserie chicken. That price hasn't gone up in years, and they lose money on everyone that they sell. But they hold on to it because they know their customers value it so much, and it's worth it to them in the long run. So I'm with you 100%. I think I like to think of, the dollars that I spend in another place, I try not to order from as much as possible as Amazon. And I actually am thinking about letting my Prime membership lapse because I'm noticing that it's not really doing what it's purports to do, but that's a whole separate discussion. But I try not to order from Amazon, and I've definitely cut back on how much I order from there because I think of every dollar I spend at any of those places as sort of a vote in support of what those companies do, right? And so do I want to vote in support of Walmart, creating a class of working poor and maintaining that class of working poor who are on public assistance because they are systematically underpaid by Walmart? Not really. Don't want to vote in support of that. Do I want to vote in support of a company that forces its employees to not take bathroom breaks for fear of reprisal from their managers? Also, that some guy's yacht can have a support yacht. Not so much. I don't want to vote in support of that. So yeah, so I that's how I kind of think of those things, right? I think of those dollars as votes in support of or in favor of those values. And I try to be empathetic to the people who are in those positions, right? Where Walmart is the only place that they can find gainful employment in their area. And so they're kind of forced into a situation where they have no choice but to be working poor, right? There aren't a lot of other opportunities for them. There are lots of places all over this country where companies like Walmart have driven mom and pops out of business. Walmart, Dollar General, like stores like that, where there are retail and food deserts all over the place, and there are employment deserts as well, where people, if you're not in the agricultural industry in a rural area, then you work at the local big box store, and those are your options essentially, right? So yeah, I 100% agree on that, and I think I don't judge people who do shop at those places, because, like I said, for a lot of people, they don't really have much of a choice. And that's the reality of it. So anyway, enough of me opining on that.
Yeah, how are we going to get into?
I was about to pivot.
But
you didn't even let me do it.
I know, because I feel like that Bill O'Reilly time, where you ever see that Bill O'Reilly clip where he's doing, like, they make him segue. They segue from like a murder into like his fluff piece, and he's like, "What is going on here?" So. I don't know how I come back from that. So what do you got? So let me hear how good you were going to do it. I'm dying over here.
Well, I mean, I was gonna segue, but now you completely.
I want to hear this segue. I'm preparing you for the segue because there would have been so much pressure on it, and I want to pressure your segue.
You're not preparing me for the segue. You threw a hand grenade in, and then you were like, okay, now put it all back together and make it work. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You just blew it up.
I know.
There is no way. You can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again, right? You just pushed him off the wall, and you said, all right, fix him.
That was a great analogy, Humpty Dumpty. All right, what do you got for me, man?
So anyway, what I was going to say was, before we get too much further along, I know we have one of my favorite segments coming up, and that is Dom's show and tell. And I'm going to follow Dom's show and tell with my own little sneaky surprise that I brought this week. So anyway, Dom, but without further ado, what do you have to show and tell us about this week?
One, do you think at some point, Tom, I'll run out of show and tells? I'll have to go up to like my kids' rooms and steal stuff out of their rooms, or will my creativity last?
I mean, I don't even think you've used half of the stuff that's just on the wall behind you. So I'm pretty confident that we've got a long way to go before you run out of show and tells.
Yeah, and then will I even remember if I pulled up like a Yoda? Yeah, this is Yoda. Yeah, you showed that 3 years ago at this time. Okay, so here's what I got today. I wanted to tell a story about during the hurricanes down in Tampa a few years ago. Somebody I know had a dog that ran away. It got blown away. Dog, whatever. Dog is gone like 15 days, and they're crushed by it. Somehow this little dog comes back after 15 days after the hurricane. It finds its way home. The dog is named Ringo. So in my publishing life, I get to meet a lot of interesting people, and I got to meet Ringo and published a book on Ringo's Journey Home. This little dog that you see right here. I don't know what is that dog, Tom? What would you say that is?
Yorkie?
Maybe a Yorkie. Let's see. I think it actually says in there. But the Yorkie ran away. Or I say it ran away, but it got blown away. Maybe it was scared. And then here is the real picture of the Yorkie in the book. So you can, no matter how lost you get, you can find your way home. So that is the show and tell today. And this is Ringo's Journey Home. Just came out.
I mean, I obviously I like that. I'm that I'm a fan of dogs. We've got 3 dogs, which for the record is probably one too many. We've agreed that when sort of nature takes its course and we end up back at 2 dogs instead of 3, that we're going to sort of maintain at 2 dogs, because 3 is just like an extra layer of complications. But yeah, I love that story. It's amazing that they got their dog back. I mean, I think anybody who's ever had dogs has had their dog sort of get loose or run away or whatever at some point. That's happened to us periodically. One of our dogs is a hound mix, and he likes to follow his nose and occasionally just sort of disappears for a couple of hours, despite the fact that we have a fenced in yard. We have to go like hiking around in the woods looking for him. So it's always nerve-wracking when that happens, but you know, it's amazing. It's amazing that after such a long time away, their dog managed to find its way home, or they might manage to find their way back to the dog. Pretty cool. And dogs are resilient, so it's a great story. I mean, I love it. Like a story of reunion. Who doesn't love that? You know, a long lost dog being reunited with its owner. You know, family members being reunited after time apart. Like, who doesn't love those kind of stories, right? I mean, you got to be a cold, heartless person to not love a story like that. So yeah, I love that story. I think it's great. Here's the thing I would say, Dom. I'm gonna segue into my thing. So I want you to take a guess at what my surprise is.
I'm very hopeful. I don't want to let that. I'm hopeful that you and Isla tried circus peanuts, but I don't know. That's what I'm leaning towards. Or maybe you dyed an egg. But what do you got for us?
So Isla, sorry to disappoint, but Isla's not involved in this whatsoever. But my surprise is I have some circus peanuts. The package is sealed. I have never had one. I still have never had one. I'm going to right now open this package and try a circus peanut for the very first time. And you get to see my reaction live on the internet if you tune in. And if you haven't tuned in and watched the live stream, now's the time when you should. I'm going to mute myself real quick because the bag's going to be very loud as I open it.
Okay, I wonder now. Tom thought one day that they actually tasted like peanuts, so I see him opening the bag here, and I mean, how does a guy think it's circus peanut? They're orange and fluffy, and he thinks they taste like. So now he's got the mic open, and so turn your mic back on, Tom. We're looking at the circus peanut. Hold on, turn your mic on. Let's see.
All right, my mic's on. My mic's on. Here we go. So yeah, so they say circus peanut, or they are circus peanuts. I've never had one before. I did look it up because I thought that they tasted like peanuts, because that seems obvious. Like, why else are they shaped like peanuts if they don't taste like peanuts? Turns out they taste like banana, apparently. So anyway, I'm going to try my very first circus peanut, and we'll see if I'm on your dad's team or not, as to whether or not they're a good candy.
He's chewing. He's making odd faces, but
the texture.
Okay, go.
The texture is not what I expected. It's like because you expect it to be kind of like bouncy, like a marshmallow, and it's not. It's like sort of crumbly and dissolves. It's almost like somebody like compressed a whole bunch of cotton candy into a peanut shape or something like that. Like, that's sort of the texture. I don't know how else to describe it. The flavor is odd. I have no idea why they're orange. Like, none of this makes sense. Bananas aren't orange. Peanuts aren't orange. Why are they shaped like peanuts? Why are they orange? Why do they taste like banana? None of this makes sense. I feel like I'm in the Upside Down, or somebody's like pranking my mouth right now. I don't get it. I've now eaten the whole thing. It just kind of tastes like vaguely banana flavored sugar. Yeah, I don't love them. I don't hate them, but I definitely don't love them. It's not, I wouldn't describe it as good. It's weird. It's unlike any candy I've ever had before. I don't know. I think I like Dr. Tachi in the comments. You trying circus peanuts is actually the latest episode of Black Mirror. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, oh, they're so sweet. Yeah, they're not a thumbs up for me. I'm not on your dad's team on this one. I don't think that they're a great candy. I think they're a holdover, and people like them because of nostalgia, not because of whether or not they're good. That's my take on circus peanuts. It's nostalgia. It's all about nostalgia. It's sort of like what are the Necco wafers? You remember those?
Yeah,
Like,
I eat those.
yeah, they're not good. Like I if somebody handed me some, I would eat them too. They're not good. They're objectively not good. They're kind of chalky. They don't really taste like what they're supposed to taste like. Like they're not good, but we eat them because like they remind us of like Halloween when we were little kids, right? And I feel like circus peanuts probably do that for like your dad. They probably remind him of his youth and like take him back in time. Maybe his parents used to get him circus peanuts or something. So like I get it for a nostalgia thing, but like as a good, like standing on its own as a candy, no, not a good candy. Definitely not.
That's a take, man. I appreciate. I found out from I was talking to some other family. I like posted about circus. I posted like a reel about us with the circus peanuts one day, and two of the people that commented were related to me, and they said that their fathers both liked circus peanuts. So maybe it's a Western Pennsylvania home for circus peanuts. I do not know, Tom. But okay, I had something to ask you. I forget what I had to ask you. But now, how do you put a bow on the Epstein files, a dog running away, circus peanuts, and empathy? That's a tough one. Go on, my friend.
I mean, I don't know that you do, honestly. I think I've made my case for practicing empathy in business. I think you and I both agree that being empathetic generally is a good way to live life, whether it's in your personal life or in your business life. I agree with Dr. Tachi. I think if people don't practice empathy in their personal lives, we have no reasonable expectation that they would practice it in their business lives. So, use that to sort of color your expectations and inform your expectations of people. And yeah, I mean, I think the rest of the stuff we'll just kind of let lie. Not a huge fan of circus peanuts. Can't wait for the Epstein files to be released. And yeah, I mean, we're going to be on summer hours. I think we're off again next week. Right? You're out of town, Dom. Is that correct? Should we just talk about this now live with everybody real fast? Let's work this out so people know when we're going to be back.
All right, we're definitely off next week. We could be off 2 weeks, Tom. I'm going to be in St. Louis the second week, so I might go from a corner of my uncle's house. And if you're on the live stream that day, you could see some real extra exciting things behind me. But I don't know. So we could be back in 2 weeks, or it may be 3.
Well, 3 weeks Tom? I won't be around.
Okay,
because I'll be out of town.
So we got to try to go from my uncle's house.
Yeah.
If my internet's no good, I don't want you guys yapping at me and being like, "Oh, Dom sounds like an idiot today," or "Dom's camera's on." I'll take my camera to St. Louis and I'll do it in my uncle's kitchen, which is exciting. I love Uncle Tom, but his kitchen's a little bit different. I'll do it right from there.
There you go. So 2 weeks. So we're off next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and then we'll be back 2 weeks again after that. In August. So that's as Dom mentioned earlier at the beginning, we're on summer hours. We hope you guys are too. I know I'm busy traveling around, enjoying the summer. I'm going to be this weekend. I'm actually going to Ohio, going to do another Ironman 70.3 because, those things are fun for me because I'm a lunatic. And then a couple of weeks after that, I'll be out of town again because I'm doing a full distance Ironman up in Ottawa. And then about 6 weeks after that, I'll be in France doing another Ironman because I'm out of my mind. But anyway, I hope all of you guys are having a good time traveling around, enjoying the summer while it's here. And until we see you in 2 weeks, I hope all of you have a great time. Enjoy the rest of your week, your weekend next week. Enjoy the summer, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the warmth, wherever you may be. And remember to just try to practice some empathy. And until we see you in 2 weeks, that's all I got to say. So love you guys. Appreciate you. You guys are the reason why we do this every couple of weeks during the summer. But you guys are the reason why we show up for Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. And we appreciate you every time you do. For Dom, I'm Tom. We're Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye, everybody.